I think Sundays were made for comfy clothes, doing activities that I really enjoy, eating good food, and rest so that I can fill up my happiness and energy reserves and feel my best for the week ahead. Today I'm going to show you everything that I eat in a day on a Sunday, and that means that I'm going to have foods that feel a little bit weekend appropriate and kind of special, but they're actually pretty healthy and very, very simple to make because it's Sunday. I love making pancakes on the weekend, but on this day I gave them kind of a special tropical summery twist with the addition of mango, banana, and toasted coconut. A great way to cut down on cost is to use frozen mango instead of fresh, and I'll either just thaw this on the counter for a couple of minutes, or I'll pop it in the microwave and then mash it with a fork, or I'll throw it in a blender until smooth. Then I mix that with almond or coconut milk, vanilla, apple cider vinegar, and maple syrup. I let that rest for a while, and then I mix together my flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. I like to add some cinnamon and some nutmeg too because it's really, really good with mango. Then I'll mix the dry ingredients together and add them to the wet ingredients, and then I just let this sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. A great trick for fluffy, delicious vegan pancakes without having to use eggs for lift is to make sure that you allow that 10 to 15 minutes of resting time. This is really beneficial for any pancake or waffle batter. I know my grandma used to do it all the time with the waffles that she would make every Sunday, because it really just helps the batter kind of thicken up and come together. Also makes it a bit more flavorful. But especially with vegan pancakes, you want to make sure that you don't skip this step because it will give the apple cider vinegar and the baking soda enough time to combine and create air bubbles. And those air bubbles equal lift and fluff and delicious pancakes. While I let the batter rest, I will pour myself some coffee, and I'll either take a few minutes to read or I will watch some old episodes of The Barefoot Contessa on YouTube. When I was making this coffee, I was thinking that I know that a lot of people kind of struggle to find a vegan coffee creamer or a vegan half and half, especially in the beginning. I've definitely had several conversations with people who've told me that they're super on board with the vegan diet. It's just coffee creamer that really kind of gets them, and I can relate. Especially a few years ago, it was really, there weren't a lot of options, but now I feel like there are really a lot of great coffee creamers on the market. We actually did a taste test on the Vegan View. We tried like 6 or 7, I think, maybe even more. But I'll link that down below because we found some really good ones. And the Oatly one is definitely one of my favorites, but I'll put some of my other favorites right here on the screen. I can't really point because my hands are full. I kind of alternate just depending on what's on sale and what's available and stuff like that. But I would love to know what your favorite coffee creamer is and how you like to make your coffee in the morning, so comment below.
Oh, the good times just begun.
After a few minutes, you'll notice that the batter has thickened up and there are a lot more air bubbles, and that's how you know that it is pancake time. And once the edges are kind of golden brown and the top is set with lots of little air bubbles, I'll go ahead and flip them over and just repeat the process until I've used up all of the pancake batter. The second the pancake batter hits the warm pan, it's gonna start to smell like mango and cinnamon and vanilla, and it is so nice. It just creates a really cozy atmosphere, and it's honestly one of my favorite parts about making pancakes is just, it smells so good. Today I'm going to add some kiwi slices, some banana slices, and some toasted coconut. All right, I've constructed the perfect bite. It has banana, kiwi, coconut, tahini, pancake. It smells like cinnamon, it smells like mango, it smells like vanilla, it smells like nutmeg. So excited. I love these because they're not too sweet and they really have like this subtle tropical flavor that it doesn't taste like you're eating sunscreen or like drinking a pina colada for breakfast. It's just something that's like pancakes, but kind of with a tropical twist, and it's so good. In the blog post below, you'll find a recipe for a mango syrup that will really kind of enhance the tropical fruity flavors. So make sure you check out the blog post in the description box for the full recipe for these pancakes, as well as some different topping options. Even though a lot of us are spending more time at home than ever before, I think that especially on the weekends, it's nice to kind of break up the week by having a nice lunch. During the week, sometimes I just have whatever's quick and easy. A lot of times I have leftovers or I'll have another breakfast. But on the weekends, I like to make something that is easy, but also feels like maybe something I would get at a restaurant, or I don't know, just something a little more special. Today I had some soup left in the fridge, so I went ahead and made that. And then I also made my new favorite salad. This is one of those salads that is so craveable and satisfying. But instead of making a whole salad from scratch, a lot of times what I'll do is I will kind of prep all the components separately, and that way for the next few days, I have quick and easy salads that I can throw together for lunch or dinner. When I get home from the grocery store, I will usually wash my lettuce. This is red leaf lettuce, which I think is kind of a nice way to shake up your salad game. It has a little bit of a different flavor, but it still has that nice, refreshing cold crunch that romaine has. It's maybe a little bit more delicate, but I like changing things up. And Dr. Greger actually says that the more pigmented a fruit or vegetable, the higher the antioxidant levels are. So I love how this kind of gradiates between different shades of green all the way up to a reddish brown. I also have a bunch of roasted carrots. These are just very simply roasted or sauteed depending on my mood, but I always have these on hand because I love them in this salad in particular. So for lunch on this day, I just took out one of my favorite bowls. I've had this one forever, and I put some of the lettuce in there along with the roasted carrots. And then I always have radishes on hand because they're one of my favorite vegetables. So I put those in there as well, along with my golden tahini dressing. I make this in big batches and keep it on hand all week long. It really gets better and better every day because all the flavors have time to marinate. And like any tahini dressing, it gets thicker as it sits. So when you first make it, it's a little bit thinner, and then it kind of gets really thick and creamy. And I will use it as a delicious salad dressing for this salad, or even as a sandwich spread sometimes. I'll make sure that the recipe for this salad and the dressing is in the description box below. I have a little bit more of this soup left over, so I'm going to use the rest of it, but I wanted to point out that sometimes with soups like this, they're really, really convenient, but they're not necessarily that filling. So a lot of times I will bulk them up with some, if I have like leftover potatoes from the night before, or I will sometimes cook pasta separately, some noodles, and put that in with some frozen veggies. Sometimes I put tofu, beans, or a mix of all of the above into soups like this, and it's still, edamame too sometimes. It really just depends on what I have on hand, but I find that it just makes these so much more filling, satisfying, nourishing, and it also kind of changes it up a little bit because I live alone, and if I have one of these containers, I usually, how many servings is in here? 4. I usually get like 3, but that means 3 days of the exact same thing. Whereas if I'm gonna be bulking it up with really delicious, extra goodies, and sometimes I'll also put greens like spinach or kale or something and wilt it in while I'm warming it up on the stove. And that way I can kind of change up the flavors every time and have something a little bit different. So I just thought I would point that out. One of my really old videos shows how I do that, and I ended up putting sriracha and potatoes and a bunch of good stuff, so and nutritional yeast. So there's a lot of things you can do with store-bought soup that makes it really delicious and more nutritious. So I'm sorry, that rhymes. I serve this with some toasty bread, and one way to make sure that I always have this on hand for easy meals is to keep the baguette in the freezer. I keep a ton of different kinds of bread in my freezer. That way they don't go to waste, they last a really long time. The only trick I will tell you is that you should slice the bread before you freeze it, because otherwise it is not fun. I love the idea of getting takeout or going to a restaurant on the weekends, but that can be really expensive and it's never really as healthy as I would like it to be. So one of my favorite things to do on the weekend is to make takeout inspired meals at home. And especially if you guys find yourself in a food rut and you're just sort of sick of your standbys and the recipes you're always making, I definitely recommend thinking about some of your favorite restaurant foods or takeout foods and trying to recreate those at home, because that way you can really customize them to exactly the way you like them. You can add in stuff that maybe would be weird or you wouldn't be able to do at a restaurant that you can do because you're the one making it and you know everything that goes into it, and it's just a fun way to kind of shake things up. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. One of the reasons I love making this type of a meal on a Sunday is because it feels special and it feels like takeout, but it's so easy because it's just canned black beans, frozen corn, store-bought tortillas, and the sweet potato I just throw in the oven, so the oven is really doing all the work for me. So in the afternoon, I just popped the sweet potato in the oven. I set a timer for an hour, and then I didn't really have to think about it. It was ready and waiting for me whenever I was ready for dinner. So all I had to do then was to make my avocado crema. And this is a really great high protein avocado cream sauce, really good. It's kind of like having a guacamole or sliced avocado, which works really well in this recipe as well. But it has a secret high protein ingredient that makes it really just a little, adds a little more nutrition, adds a little more sustenance, and it's really, really flavorful. To make these tostadas, all I had to do was to mash the cooked sweet potato with some taco seasoning, salt and pepper. I spread that in a thick layer on top of my corn tortillas with my black beans and corn, and then I popped this into the oven so that the tostada can get nice and crispy. These only need to bake for a few minutes, and then I like to top them with some red onion, cherry tomatoes, cilantro, and my avocado crema. I served this with some plantain chips for crunch and some salsa for dipping, and this was so good. This video inspired you to take a little bit of time and relax and eat some good food and rest and just embrace this time at home, because I know that this is not an easy time for anybody, and I think that now more than ever it's so important just to focus on the little things that do make you happy and that we can control. So eating good food, watching your favorite shows, watching something that makes you laugh, reading a good book, going on a nice walk, maybe taking a nice hot shower, getting enough rest, napping, anything like that. All of that really does help to make you feel comforted and grounded, and it definitely doesn't fix everything, but it, I think, is really helpful and so important for your mental health, just to make sure that you have that time to recharge and relax. So hopefully this video inspired you to do that, because you deserve happiness. And if you want to make any of these recipes, I hope you will, because they're so good. So I will link them in the description box below. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you're not already. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in a video very soon.